And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks! Welcome to Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. The date today is the 13th of July, 2010. It is 8 p.m. in the British Isles. It is 9 p.m. Central European Summertime. And it is 3 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. And you are here to listen to a show replacing the missing show from Friday. If you've never heard of Vendorstrike before, consider yourself very fortunate that you didn't have to endure it this time. I had 9 people, aside from me, in the house that could have been in the studio. It would have been a train wreck, a disaster. Horrendous, I tell you. That's generally the common theme when it comes to Vendorstrike, so consider yourself lucky that you did not see it. Yes, indeed. So I'm doing a show today in order to compensate for the fact that there was no Friday show. It'll be chock full of content. There'll be another show on Friday. Yep, back to the normal schedule of Blue Plz, which will contain Ask the Murloc, the continuation, as well as No Cake News. There won't be any of that today, because this is an unscheduled show. But I'll be having plenty of content for you for the next hour and a half. Kicking it off with the mailbag, then going into some talk regarding what makes a terrible starting zone. I can tell you because I had the misfortune of experiencing one. And you may not have requested this segment, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to be doing that a little bit later on the show. How do you make a good one, and how do you completely screw it up? I will tell you. Also, talent changes. The best thing ever to happen to World of Warcraft? We shall see. Coming up a little bit later on the show, you should go and have a read-up of that one. Big stuff over on MMO Champion. And, of course, Real ID, the debacle is now over, but we have to ask the question, what was Blizzard thinking to begin with? Yes, indeed, regardless of my, I would say, cautious support of it, simply to get rid of trolling, my God, the debacle and the fury that came down on Blizzard over that one. What were they thinking? What the hell was going on? We're talking about that a little bit later on the show. And to cut off the show, Cataclysm Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. Assuming the servers are back up, they weren't about an hour ago. They might be by the time we get there. I will be doing Cataclysm Q&A for the last 20 or so minutes of the show, so you'll be able to send in your questions for that. If you want to send in questions for the Q&A, send it over, the Murloc at CynicalBrit.com. That is the Murloc at CynicalBrit.com. That is the email address you need to talk to. Alternatively, you can send me a PM on the chat room. If you want to get into the chat room, got a full video wall of people, and I'm demonstrating that that top hat has now been acquired from the end of the Worgen starting zone. Yes, indeed. I stole it from a corpse, and I'm wearing it right now on cam. Head on over to CynicalBrit.com, click the chat button at the bottom of the screen. You click there, you will get in, and you will see. You will indeed see. As well as other people, but we don't really care about them, do we? A bunch of miserable people, but it's okay, because we have the freaking Pope in the channel. Yes. His Holiness is here representing, as you can see. Fairly sure he has a larger beard than I was expecting, honestly. I don't think he's the real Pope. Let's get on with the show, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes. People have been asking if I had a good birthday. Yes, actually, I had. I had a absolutely fantastic birthday. It was great fun. I was drunk for the vast majority of it. We did some LANing, we did some gaming. May I put out a couple of recommendations for you, ladies and gentlemen? Some good fun stuff that we played. Arkham Horror. We played the Arkham Horror board game with the Dunwich Horror expansion. Excellent game. Absolutely fantastic. We also played Battlestar Galactica with the Pegasus expansion. Wonderful board game. If you have any friends and you want to lose those friends, then play Battlestar Galactica, because one of them is a Cylon, and you have absolutely no idea who it is. And the screwing over and the drama and the politics and the distrust is fairly epic. Big fan of that one. Yes, indeed, I did just say... epic! Oh, yes. So yeah, that's recommended. And we actually played the EVE Online card game, which was really fun. It's funny, isn't it? How the card games for MMOs tend to be more fun than the actual MMO itself. I love the World of Warcraft card game. I think it's a great game. And the EVE card game, even though it was discontinued months ago, was also really fun. So yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, that's been my weekend. Not a lot of WoW, not many videos. Those asking about videos, there's more coming up. I'm working on the Human Starting Zone tonight after the show, and I may mean to get that up overnight. Then we'll be looking at some Goblin stuff, as well as some more zones that people seem to want to have a look at. Have a look at that and see how that goes. And that about covers it, really. Aside from the whole, surgery thing. So, I was in hospital today with an appointment regarding my nose. You may have noticed in previous shows that I've been having issues with getting sort of a blockage at the back of my throat when I talk for too long. That's actually an issue with a membrane inside my sinuses. It's going to be surgically removed, which means they're going to slice my nose in half. Yes, indeed. It's going to be fairly awesome. That's going to be happening in about a month's time, so hopefully it won't clash with the show, because I'll be anaesthetised for a good amount of that day, but we will see. In the meantime, I think we are quite done with that, so it's time for this. Did I press that button? I can't remember. I'm sure I did. I was just looking at some emails. Did I press the mail button? Whatever. I don't mind. I'm sure you can simulate it in your mind. Did it break? Okay. Right, interesting. So the mail time drop-in is broken, so I suppose I'm going to have to simulate it myself. Mail time, mail time, mail time, mail time. Here's the mail, it never fails, it makes me want to wag my tail. Here it comes, it's going to fail. Mail! Are you deafened yet? Excellent. Mail time! Right, let's have a look at the mail, shall we? I'm sure we can find it. Where are we going? Fix the previous podcast! That's great. It's like, fix your podcast. If it's not too much trouble, it actually is. If you want me to fix all my previous podcasts on the website, it's going to take me about 2 solid days. If you want to listen to anything old, I don't know why you want to listen to old shows anyway. Hey, here's a current affairs show from 2005. How is that relevant? If you want to go listen to it, however, go to wcradio.com. Click the WoW Radio Archives link. There is a full folder full of Blue Plz stuff, Murloc stuff, stuff like, whatever they call it, Nubcake News, random images that are in there. What is this thing, anyway? And that is an image of a chicken. Right, okay. Images of chickens, fair enough. Yes, it's all in there, and you can check it out. So if you want to download the stuff, that's the place to do it right now. The archiving system on the website is mostly complete for all the new stuff, but there's still an awful lot of things that do need to be added. I don't have the time to do so. I need 2 solid days to get all of that fixed up. There's like hundreds of articles I need to create. So yeah. Right, okay. Let's get on with it, shall we? Let's have a look and see what we've got in the mailbag. Quite a few things coming over the week. Obviously, the Q&A stuff I'm going to answer towards the end of the show. In the meantime, I'll be looking at the stuff that came in as regards to questions. A lot of real ID stuff. Don't really want to discuss that for fairly obvious reasons. Why is my mailbox not loading? Move it! Move your ass! Horrendous piece of whatever it is. Ugh. technology is the worst thing, I must say. My internet connection has been playing up for weeks now, and it's not good. Not good at all. Ah, yes. Short history of Activision Blizzard. I suppose we can talk about this a little bit. So, on Team Liquid, on the 30th of May, somebody posted a very large post about the history of Activision Blizzard. This comes in from 9/11 Guilty Jerk, and he says, through Twitter today I found a very well-written article on Activision Blizzard and the slow shift in their company policy, riddled with retarded quotes from Mr. Kotick and dozens of examples of Blizzard's shift in design and loss of control. It's an excellent read, and keep in mind it's a bit long, but I think you could make a good show material once back doing regular shows. Yeah, I've read this article, and it's always difficult because, bear this in mind, correlation does not equal causation, and it never, ever has. You know what bothers me? What actually bothers me an awful lot? I don't even know if this is a plan by Activision and Blizzard to make it this way, to play heel and face on this. But here's the thing. Activision Blizzard is one company. Don't separate the two. Activision Blizzard are the same company. They merged. That's the point. That means that you can't just decide to blame Activision for the bad stuff and then praise Blizzard for the good stuff. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to pick and choose. That's exactly what they want you to do. Activision knows it has a bad rep, but Blizzard has a lot of good rep with the gamer base in general. It's built up a massive amount, a huge amount of credibility and just generally points with the gaming community. They love Blizzard. Blizzard is awesome. And here's the thing, they use it to their advantage. We can't blame Blizzard for anything, because of course Blizzard would never do such a thing. Blizzard would never desert us. Blizzard would never abandon the gamers. Absolutely not. It's Activision doing all of that. Oh yes, all Activision. But of course when something good happens, oh my god, Blizzard is so creative, they're absolutely fantastic. You know, they come up with like a cool marketing campaign, like something like the Mr. T thing, a bit like, oh Blizzard, great. You know who organised that? It wasn't Blizzard, it was Activision. Who do you think's fronting the money for that kind of thing? The marketing is in the hands of Activision. You don't get to pick and choose. I'm sorry, you don't. It's the same company. Accept it. Activision Blizzard is the same company, and you've got to blame both, because how do you split that down the middle? You can claim all you like there's a bunch of influence from Activision, but again, it's entirely possible. Not gonna discount it at all. You know, the article's really good. I'll put it in the show notes for those of you who have not read it. But, I'm sorry, I have to say this. I do not accept that every single bad decision that has ever happened with World of Warcraft is attributable to Activision. It's garbage. Absolute rubbish. I'm sorry, it is. I do not accept that. Some of it, maybe. Absolutely. I mean, they've said that Blizzard gets to write its own check, as far as they're concerned. It's done when it's done. I don't believe that. But also, I don't think that's necessarily Activision pressuring them. That is Blizzard either cutting corners or saying, hey, you know what? It's okay, we can do it because we've got all this credibility, and if somebody comes out and blames us, we can just say, oh, but Activision! The gamer base will blame Activision. They won't blame us because we'll be fine. No. Blizzard wants to make money just as much as Activision does. Blizzard has to make money. Do you blame them for that? I don't blame them for wanting to make money, but do you think stuff like TRH was entirely Activision's decision? Hell no, it wasn't. Ever since they started putting in premium services, this was way before Activision bought them, Blizzard like microtransactions. They love them because they know they can get away with them. Server transfers. $20. $20 to move server? It's an entirely automated procedure. It's garbage. Why would that be there? And are you going to blame Activision for that? Good luck, because that was put in years before Activision bought them out. So don't give me that. Race change, and name change, and all that other stuff, and all the customization, and blah, 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 and then starting charging for BlizzCon streaming. Do you think that was all Activision's idea? No, it wasn't. So just accept it. They are the same company. I love Blizzard as much as the next guy. Blizzard's awesome. They make some great games. They make a lot of mistakes as well. And that's what really being a fan of a company is. A fan as opposed to a fanboy. You know, fanboy, oh my god, defend everything, blah, 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 rationalize it. Cognitive dissonance going on in that little mind of yours, saying that, oh no, well, it's not Blizzard's fault, it's Activision's fault. Well, ignore the fact that they're the same company, but hey, being a fan of a particular brand, a particular product, a particular company, a developer, is all about being able to take a step back and say, you guys are great, but you screwed up on this one, and here's why. I'm still your fan, but I am expressing my disappointment, my dismay, and indeed maybe even my anger at something you have done which screws me and everybody else over. So yeah, that's what I would ask of people. That's what I would suggest to people, is that when you look next time at the latest ridiculous decision that comes out, and there will be one, undoubtedly there will be one, you don't turn around and say, isn't Activision evil? Activision is responsible for all of this, because they're not. And honestly, you can't be a good consumer if you don't understand where the decisions are coming from. All it does is it makes you a fanboy. It makes you a white knight for a company you're never going to interact with on any personal level, and really, let's be honest, have no real investment in. So, why would you get so defensive about it? It's amazing to see people get so defensive about the slightest little things in WoW, and Blizzard is no exception. People will jump to their defense in a completely irrational manner. Hold them to account, and they will make a better product. They're grown-ups, they can handle it, and I would like it if everyone else acted like that as well. My name is TotalBiscuit, and you are listening to the one and only Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com. And I'll play some Equilibrium. This goes by the name of Snuffle, and we'll be right back after this to talk to you about what makes a bad starting zone. Enjoy. You are listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com.
Friend, I've got what you need! A premium quality Ventrilo server from UGTservers.com! It's goblin engineering, you see. Not like those inferior gnome products, always backfiring. If you're short on cash, you can even share the cost of the server with Guild Deposit. Have those lazy guildies of yours pay their dues. You know, I could offer you this amazing electric cattle prod that'll really get them moving.
UGTservers.com. Voice communication for your guild. Get yours today. You are listening to Blue Plz, the Tuesday Assault, replacing the Vendorstrike that we blissfully did not do on Friday. It's with myself, TotalBiscuit. I would like to give a special mention to our sponsors, the guys who have basically allowed Cynical Brit to even exist and were massive supporters of WoW Radio. They're called UGTservers.com. They are a fantastic Ventrilo provider. The Cynical Brit and the WoW Radio servers are provided by them. They have been rock solid the entire way, and they are great guys. So if you need a vent server for your guild, I would highly recommend it. I've used it, and I can guarantee that they can even deal with the decibel level of my ranting and raving. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is impressive. Okay, can you deal with the decibel level of my ranting and raving? How about we find out, shall we? So, I've been doing these YouTube videos, as you're probably well aware, coming up on just over a week now, and wow, what a week it's been, really. I think you guys are well aware of that. Here's the thing. I decided, just before I was going to go and have my birthday celebration over the weekend, that I would attempt to do a request. Requests, I don't tend to do requests. Very odd. Requests, they bother me. The reason they bother me, I think, is because I think requests actually show an inherent lack of trust in the content producer, that they would have to listen to a viewer in order to put out something that people would enjoy. I mean, how often do you think that, say, a television network listens to requests? You know, they get a letter in from Joe Bloggs that said, you know what I'd really like? I'd like a show about flower pots. And I think a show about flower pots would be awesome. So can you make me a show about flower pots, please? So, television stations have big advantages over people like YouTube content producers and podcasters. 1, they've got loads of money. 2, they've got loads of staff. And 3, they have people who are there to work out what the demographic's going to enjoy. But here's the thing, I don't really need people for that, because I'm a WoW player, and I know what I enjoy. And I think I know what my fan base enjoys, because they've been listening to me for years. So either they're some kind of weird masochists that desperately want to suffer by listening to every single one of my shows, which is entirely feasible, or they sort of share some of my opinions as to what's good and what isn't. However, against my better judgment, I decided to take a request, and that request was to do the Gnome starting zone. So I did, and it was awful! It was absolutely horrendous. Oh dear. So I posted the video, and I posted the video really for one purpose, as I mentioned very early on in the video. This is how not to do a starting zone. And as it happens, it got response from Blizzard 24 hours after the video went up. In response to a thread that mentioned my video on several occasions, they put out a list of what was complete and what was not. However, that list contradicts something that they said on the 8th of July before I posted the video, which was the Done Morrow Zone, quote from a blue right here, paraphrasing, the Done Morrow Zone is mostly complete and is mostly ready for testing. We need to make some minor changes. That's a paraphrase right there. Not the exact quote, but I'll find the exact quote and I'll put it in the show notes for you if you need some evidence. So, in reality, just because they said on the list later on that it's not finished, that doesn't mean that it wasn't in almost in the state that they were looking for. They said it. One of the blues admitted it, so we've got to believe one of these things. Now, as far as I can tell, the Gnome starting zone is going to be moving up to Gnome again, and there are some quests set up there already, but you don't spawn there, and there's no quest to take you there in the early levels. So that's a pain in the ass. I assume that's all going to be sorted out. But what we're looking at the moment is the Dwarf starting zone, because they're the same thing right now. They're not going to be, but right now they're the same. So if you're saying to me that Done Morrow is mostly complete and mostly ready for testing, then that indicates to me that there's only going to be minor changes done to Coldridge, which is where the Dwarf starting zone, the level 1 to 5, is located. Now here's the problem with the Dwarf starting zone, ladies and gentlemen. It sucks. Badly. I want to talk to you about how badly it sucks, why this should worry you, and how to do a proper starting zone. It's fairly easy to analyse how to do a proper starting zone thanks to the Cataclysm beta, because they've demonstrated on now 3, and as I've done the human starting zone, now 4 separate occasions, that they know how to create a more compelling starting zone experience. Now, of the 4 starting zones, other than the Gnome one that I've done so far, the human one definitely comes in last, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's a lot better than it used to be, and it has advanced significantly. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but it's got quite a variety of quests. It's got some lore engagement with a major character, which is good, and it's got a fairly reasonable bit of fighting going on. What I also noticed, which you'll notice in the video, is that they've completely redone the starting quests that you get as a warrior. Now, I'm going to have to look these up, because I don't play a warrior, so I don't know what the order of these quests is. Now, let me just have a look right here. I'm going to look for Victory Rush. Abilities. Victory Rush. When is this learned? Victory Rush is learned at level... Where is it? Oh, God. When do you learn Victory Rush? Can't even find it. That's extremely irritating. Taught by... Someone in the channel can tell me. Level 6 now. Well, level 6 now. It's not actually level 6 in the starting zone, it's actually now level 5. And if I remember correctly, someone please point out if I'm wrong, Heroic Strike used to get out very early, right? Am I correct in that assumption? Heroic Strike, indeed, you got it at level 1. You don't anymore. You don't get Heroic Strike at level 1. You now get it... Actually, I don't know when you get it, but I do know that you now get Slam at level 1. Slam is on your bar straight away. And obviously you get Charge really early as well, which you got anyway, but whatever the case is, it goes normal attack, Slam at level 1, then Charge, then Victory Rush. So that's the order that they give it to you in. So it's a minor deviation. Not a huge variance, but a minor deviation. Now, what that says to me is that they're looking to to change the way that you play at early levels to train you into a certain kind of rotation and priority order. Now, I don't know whether or not that's actually going to work, because I don't know a lot about warriors. But I was able to master the whole charge in, once I got charge, obviously. Charge in, slam, and obviously in the middle of the time you're auto-attacking and slam again. You're able to build up reasonable range and do fair damage, and of course then when you get Victory Rush, you can charge, Victory Rush, slam, and slam, and that will usually kill pretty much anything. However, and this is, again, something I will note in the video, maybe this is not simply in the beta yet, but as a person that's played WoW before, I looked automatically for a rotation, or at least a priority order. It's like, how do I do DPS with this character? Because I've never played a warrior. Actually, no, that's not true. I played a warrior once. I tanked a Molten Core back in the day, when some guy was late for his raid on WoW Radio. It was the WoW Radio guild back with Athalas, who was running a thing called Violent Noise. I was like, oh god, TB, we need to tank. He's like, I've never tanked before in my life. Come tank Major Domo. We'll give you this Tauren. And I said, verily, I shall goeth forth with this Tauren bovineth warrior, and I shall smite the demons. And I didn't really smite the demons. I almost wiped the raid, but it was pretty awesome. I pressed buttons, and I think Heroic Strike might have been in there, and I also respec'd into Improved Ren, which I felt was fairly important at the time. So, off on that tangent, as a person that's played WoW before, I look for things like rotations and priority orders. A new player wouldn't do that in any way. So, if I go in there, first ever time I've played as anything, this is my first ever experience with WoW, and I am a warrior. Okay. So, what do I do with this warrior? Because I've got an attack button, and I've got a slam button. Now, actually pressing the attack button is dumb, because obviously it stops your attack. All you really need to do is auto hit a couple of times to get some rage, then slam, 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 over and over and over again. And then obviously when you get charged, you charge in and blah blah blah. The way that the whole zone was presented could have been a lot better in terms of a tutorial. So, before I talk about the bad starting zone, let me tell you about one of the best starting zones, because of course it is inhabited by trolls. The troll starting zone is an extremely good piece of tutorial work. The human starting zone isn't so much. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good at teaching a new player the ropes and showing them the variety of quests available and bringing them through a whole bunch of really cool stuff. It's just not as good. So, what does the human starting zone do wrong, and what does the troll starting zone do right? Well, troll starting zone starts you off by, this is your ability. Hit target dummies with it to get a feel for target switching, clicking on targets, and pressing your hotkeys. Okay, cool, we've got that, excellent. Now go and fight something that can actually hit back. Obviously, you go hunting for some stuff, and this also demonstrates to you drop quests. And now, you go fight something that's a little bit tougher and you're slightly higher level. So, go fight this and blah blah blah. So, that works really well for a basic tutorial of the combat system. The human starting zone starts you off with, obviously this is class dependent, but I started off with 2 abilities as opposed to 1. It's not really 2 abilities per se, it's attack and slam. I think the problem that a lot of maybe really new players are going to think of is like, well, say, let's take an example of another RPG. A normal attack button. A RPG that has normal attack bound to a button. If I press that, I expect it to attack. If I press it again, I don't expect it to stop attacking, but it does anyway. So what you should really be doing, if you've got the rage, is to start with slam. But it doesn't really indicate that. And it makes me wonder, how could you teach somebody that? And how could you teach people the ideas of proper rotations? So, that's something they need to look at. And again, I'll demonstrate that in the video, which is hopefully coming up by tomorrow. Now, bad starting zones. Stuff like the Dwarven starting zone right now. Complete total mess. The repetition and the running around is horrendous. You have to do what you can in order to try and retain people. And this is one of their big things. I said it before, I'll say it again because it's absolutely true. It was admitted in an interview. They are prioritizing right now the retention of players that would otherwise leave before level 10. And how do you do that? Well, you make a good starting zone. Indeed, that's one of the only ways that you can do it. Make a great starting zone. and you will bring people in. And you will keep them. More importantly, give them the Dwarf starting zone and they will want to jump off the nearest cliff. Because it's terrible. Absolutely appalling starting zone. Basic mechanics that go all the way back to the days of vanilla. And people say, oh, TotalBiscuit's not finished, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it mostly is. They admitted it. For God's sake, Blue said it in Blue and Black, I guess. Yes, Blue and Black. It's got to be true. If they said it, this is mostly finished. So there's going to be some minor alterations. You had poorly balanced quests that would actually kill you. Right? The last quest in that, you would die. You would actually die. I'm not kidding. There are certain classes that can't do it because you get hit by 5 mobs because they're all aggro together. You go for the boss dude and then suddenly, blah, you know? It's pretty atrocious, honestly. And the funny thing is they don't tell you that because they're all yellow to you. But then when you hit the boss mob, suddenly all aggro and then you die, which is dumb. I mean, what's that gonna... That's going to infuriate a new player. And it's like, great, I get to run from the graveyard 2 or 3 minutes to go and res. Whoopity-doo-dah day, welcome back to the Molten Core days. Go to hell with that one. It's boring. And if that's me being, so whiny and complaining, then so be frickin' it, because I don't want to do that. People ask me, TotalBiscuit, why do you never roll alts? That is why I never roll alts. Why would I want to do any of that? Someone explain this to me. How is that in any way entertaining? Oh, but you can get immersed in the richness of the lore, la-di-da. Hell no. The richness of the lore is Trogs be attacking, and oh god, we need beer. Yes, indeed, I am immersed in this rich and wonderfully detailed backstory that is, of course, far superior to freaking J.R.R. Tolkien. Oh, yes, indeed, it far surpasses that kind of nonsense. Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, throw them out of the window. Yes, indeed, the Dwarf starting zone is the latest and greatest piece of fantasy literature for the modern age. To hell with it, it's rubbish. It is an awful plot. You want to see a good starting zone plot? Look at the Worgen. Look at the Troll. That's where the good starting zone plots are. That's where the engagement is. That's where the story immersion factor is, because the story is told in actions and visuals as well as words on a quest log. You don't see me getting to ride around throwing torches at hundreds of werewolves in the Dwarf Zone. You don't get to see me driving around in a car or robbing a bank or engaging in a high-class dance party in the Dwarf starting zone. You don't get to see me fighting along a historical figure against a Naga Sea Queen with a bit of a touching moment at the end in the Dwarf starting zone. So tell me how that is acceptable. I am thankful, at least, that this seems to be a proper beta and Blizzard is willing to fix it, because I'm saying this now. If that goes live, that is a travesty. I don't even play Alliance, and I'm disgusted by that. My name is TotalBiscuit, you're listening to Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com. I'll be back after this. This is Axis with the Tales of Glory Island. We're going to be talking a little bit after the break about talent changes. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com. Yes, indeed, folks, listen to Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit. I'm not sure if you noticed, I'm somewhat tired at the moment. I haven't really slept all that much. I was in hospital at about 8 a.m. this morning, so I shall do my best to get through the rest of the show. I'm sure I can keep it going. Right, okay. So, what can we talk about? Well, there's been some fairly major changes. It's indeed stuff about talents. I would like to talk to you about this. This is a fairly big deal. Perhaps the biggest deal. So, let me just find the article for you and we can talk about it. One moment. Right, so. The class and mastery system. There's a massive massive blue article on this particular topic, posted by Zahid. The link will be in the show notes on cynicalbrit.com. I'm posting it in the chat room for those of you who are listening live, so there you go. Have a look at that one. So, this was technically announced at BlizzCon 2009. However, we haven't heard anything about it until very recently, and when I went into the beta and had a look at it, I was a little bit confused, to say the least. I was like, wait a second, I'm fairly sure that Blizzard said they were going to be making some major changes to the way talents are, and it doesn't seem like they have. Well, they are. So, here's the big deal, ladies and gentlemen. Talent trees across the board are getting completely what the hell is reworked? Let's try it again. Reworked! Yes, indeed, Jonathan was. 30 talent trees are getting completely changed. Everything is going to get shaken up. A major, major degree. Now, firstly, there'll be a third less talents overall. Their plan is to get rid of everything that sucks and or is boring and remodel everything from the ground up to make everything interesting. That's what they're claiming anyway. We'll have to see whether or not they're able to pull that one off. The whole idea of making everything interesting was something that was brought up in the BlizzCon 2009 panel on talents. And specifically, the comment was made that stuff like passive bonuses and just generic stat increases should not be part of the talent tree. Talents should be things that are either activatable or really interesting. Now, since that is evidently not the case in the current beta, they're putting in a whole bunch of new stuff to try and make that happen. But that's not all. Since there are less talents, there will also be less talent points. Talent trees will be reduced down to a 31-point talent once again. That was the way it used to be back in the day. No 51-point talents in vanilla, oh no. All 31 points. 41 in TBC and 51 in Wrath of the Lich King. So, no 61, or indeed in this case 56-point talents in the Cataclysm. It's all the way back down there. So, there is concern, of course, over the reduction in the number of skills, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The big change as well is that you will be getting less talent points overall. You will be getting approximately 1 talent point every 2 levels. Oh yes. So that's a big deal. What else has been changed? Well, here's the major, crazy thing that a lot of people are getting up in arms over. And indeed, this is really the only thing that people are getting up in arms over in any real respect. Now, the bitching about everything else is just, hey, it's the noise that appears on the forums whenever Blizzard does or says anything, so you can safely tune it out. So, the major change. When you get your talent tree, when you start investing in it, you are locked into that talent tree until you reach the 31-point talent. You cannot add points to any other tree until that has happened. Yes, indeed. That is a big deal. So, we'll talk about that first, because it's the most controversial part of it. But I can't really talk about it without telling you some of the other changes that are being made. This is not necessarily a change to the talent tree per se, but the way that characters start to grow and develop at level 10 onwards. Now, up until now, all the development past level 10 in terms of what your character can do has been determined by 2 things. The first has been the skills that you learn, and the second has been the talents you pick. Now, that's still going to be the case. However, at level 10, you're going to be learning some stuff that you were not able to learn before at that level. A lot of advanced stuff. Example, dual wielding for enhancement shamans will be available at level 10. The water elemental for mages will be available at level 10. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. A lot of major abilities that otherwise would have taken you a massive amount of time to get to. And why is that? They are called spec-defining abilities. That's what Blizzard's calling them, and it makes perfect sense. So, when you specialize in a particular tree, there are certain talents that really define it. Fireball is not something that determines how well your fire spec performs in a really major way. It's not the spec-defining ability, you know? Oh no, yes, 0.1 cast time reduction on Fireball. Yeah, at raiding level, and indeed, of course, when you're leveling, yeah, it's a big deal, but it doesn't change anything, really. It doesn't change the feel of the class and how it plays. However, talking about a class-defining ability, well, try talking about Pyroblast and a Hot Streak. You know, Hot Streak is what really defines the Fire Mage in its current form. What about a Frost Mage? Well, the big gimmick of the Frost Mage these days is the Water Elemental. So, if you can't use the Water Elemental until a much higher level, then leveling Frost is not necessarily as interesting an option as something else. And Arcane was really bad for this. Absolutely disgraceful. Because back before they brought it, well, even now, Arcane Blast takes you ages to get to, I believe. What do you learn Arcane Blast on at this level? Maybe they've changed things around now, but back in my day, Arcane Blast wasn't learned until TBC. Yes, indeed, level 64. That's the main nuke of Arcane is not available until level 64. Just think about that for a second. That's insane. And that's going to change in Cataclysm. That's the spec-defining nuke right there. It's not Arcane Missiles. Arcane Missiles is not even going to be the defining nuke. It's going to be an incidental part of a priority rotation. As in, you cast and then you get a proc and then you use it, which is what Raiders do right now. But now it's going to be mandatory. You can't cast it otherwise. So, the things that define the Arcane spec, such as maybe Arcane Power and Arcane Blast, and the way that Arcane Blast and Arcane Missiles play off each other, I would imagine are going to come in much earlier. So, the idea is they present you with the 3 talent trees, and they give you some information about each one. So before you pick, you are said, you are about to make an important choice. You can respec out of this, but just bear this in mind. Once you invest a point in a tree, that is the tree you're going to be getting up to 31 points. And then you can start splashing some other trees in there. So bear that in mind and make sure you pick the right one. And if you need to respec and choose a different one, that's cool. But they're outlying. So say, for the mage. Best example, because hey, it's the class I know best. What are they going to get? Well, let's have a think about it. So, the mage. Burst damage for Arcane. You know? A lot of mana for Arcane. What about fire? Well, fire, very big hits, dots, and, of course, a little bit of AoE thrown in there for good measure with things like Living Bomb. And, of course, Flame Strike, if they ever make that usable. Big on the pyros. And what about Frost? Well, in terms of Frost, you are looking at Water Elemental, you're looking at Control, specifically. That's the tree that's all about control. It's about slowing your opponent. It's about kiting your opponent. It's about making sure your opponent stays where you want it to be. Now, Blizzard has to find a way to explain that in a way that makes sense to newer players. And then they have to design the trees in such a way that you don't need to go into another tree. That's, I think, what a lot of people have problems with right now, is they're thinking that, well, right now, say, if I were leveling in the current form of WoW, that would be a stupid thing to do. Stopping me from splashing another tree? That's crazy. Because there are a lot of specs and classes that benefit from a hybrid at earlier levels, and it's preferable to go into that. There are like some must-have talents. Here's the thing though, they're totally changing it, so there won't necessarily have to be must-have talents. There's going to be a clear, defining line between each spec and its role. Now, once you get up to the advanced level, sure, after that, you'll be able to respec, and you'll be able to gain extra points in different trees that make sense, supporting trees. Will things like Elemental Precision still be there, for instance, which it gives that 3% hit bonus across the board? Will that still be there? We don't know. It may be completely gone, because Elemental Precision is not a very interesting talent. They want to get rid of the really dull stuff and bundle it all into Mastery, which is a stat that, it did increase. I don't know if it still does. They're changing this. The way that Mastery is now working is that Mastery used to be given to you according to how many points you spent in a tree. So, once you specialize in a tree now, all your Mastery is just given to you right there. Flat percentages. So, no nonsense in that regard. And those Masteries are going to make sense based on the tree itself. So, say, right now, the Mastery for Fire is Flashburn. That's the major Mastery for it. You get crit in there as well. So, Flashburn is a double ignite. It is something that can potentially ignite off of any of your fire spells. So it's like, ignite, oh look, another Flashburn ignite, there you go. So, big on the burning. it seems to me that if they're going to take that and they're going to put it in from the start, then I expect to see the fire tree redesigned in such a way that fire becomes way more about dots and damage over time. Because the burning mechanic is the big mechanic. Ignite is one of those defining abilities. Living Bomb, one of those defining abilities. So it's all about setting your opponent on fire and watching them burn. Those are the defining points, the defining features and characteristics of the fire tree. Now, if Blizzard wants to do this properly, what they'll do is they will make that the big core of the fire tree. And this will apply to everything else. Like the tanking trees for all of the classes that can tank. Enhancement, the way that works. You know, it's all centered around dual wielding, so everything is going to be about big, spell-driven melee damage in close quarters, and it's all going to be built around that. Think about it for your own class, and think about what you would do right now. Think about how you would characterize a spec. How would you say characterize Retribution? Think about that in your head, and then think about if you were to take that to an extreme. If you say, well, I take these aspects, and I rebuild the class based on the talents from the ground up with a firm vision in mind. Because here's the problem. Classes and specs have been around since launch, and their roles have shifted. And you've seen that they've tried to keep with the times by changing the talents, but they haven't gone far enough in many places. For instance, Shamans used to be able to tank, to some degree, in vanilla. We had raids with Shaman tanks in them. Mostly they were off tanks, but they could tank. And they had talents based around tanking. And then Shaman tanking became completely pointless. So, of course, they had to take the Shaman tanking talents out. And since then, with the shifting in roles between the various different specs and classes, indeed, like, right now, Death Knight's going to get the biggest stuff. Because Death Knight, their trees are completely changing. At the moment, all three trees can tank in some way. That's not going to be the case anymore. There's going to be a tanking tree. Whatever that is, I can't really remember. But there is going to be a tanking tree. So everything else has got to change. And how do you do that? Well, the best way to do it is to completely remodel the talents. This is radical stuff. And this is the stuff that gives me hope. Because with the whole Path of the Titans thing being cut, I found myself very much not looking forward to Cataclysm. Because a radical change that they were willing to put into the game that would completely spin everything on its head, that would completely turn things around and say, hey, this is now a completely different game. That was taken out, but now there is something else. There is something that can genuinely change the game in a very meaningful and powerful manner, and that is a new talent system. I'm still disappointed that Path of the Titans isn't there anymore. Don't get me wrong. It annoys me that it's not there. I think that taking it out was a cop-out. It was weak. I hate the fact that that is the case. However, this is a good start. This is Blizzard coming out and saying, you know what? We are willing to look back at what we've seen. Because what I've seen thus far from Cataclysm is that Cataclysm is the Renaissance after the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages was Wrath of the Lich King. While it had some of its own moments, Wrath of the Lich King has been the worst expansion thus far by a very significant margin. A lot of mistakes have been made. Cataclysm seems to say, we are willing to go back, look at this, and completely gut it if need be. Make massive, sweeping changes across the board. Why? Because we're Blizzard. Because we're capable of such things. Because what we do is, we take a genre, and we make a game around it, and then we are willing to take some fairly radical steps to change it. Warcraft 3 is a prime example. Radical change to the RTS genre. Undoubtedly. Dangerous. Risky. Since then, maybe they've not been doing that so much. Maybe they've just been trying to take an idea and perfect it. But back in the day, Blizzard used to be all about the risk, and I'm glad to see that spark, perhaps, sort of flickering in the darkness, saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, why not? Let's do it. It's our game. You can do whatever you damn well please, Blizzard. People will whine about it regardless. They'll whine if you don't change anything. They'll whine if you change anything at all. Deal with it. Do what you think is best, and for God's sake, don't take requests. Really. I think we've seen how badly that works out. My name's been TotalBiscuit. You are listening to Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com. This goes by the name of... Oh god, what the hell is going on with my player? Here, you can have this, whatever. My player is going crazy right here. Camelot, this is March of Mephisto. I'll be right back after this. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on cynicalbrit.com. Yes, indeed, folks, you're listening to Blue Plz here on cynicalbrit.com with myself, TotalBiscuit, fighting through the wall of tiredness at the moment. Oh, I don't even know if I'm going to get a human video done tonight. Absolutely bloody exhausted. You know what, I might have a chill-out day and then I'll do all video tomorrow. That sounds like good. Okay. Right, let's talk a little bit about this Real ID thing, because the last show that I did, which was last Tuesday, the Real ID thing had just hit and everyone was going crazy. I think I'm maybe one of 3 people that I know of that was not entirely opposed to the idea. I didn't think it was amazing, but I understood the principle behind it, and I was kind of okay with it. I mean, you got to bear in mind, though, that I'm the sort of person that has my name on the internet and has had it there for years. So, to me, it's not really a big deal. Yeah, you know what? If you put yourself out on the internet in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get harassed, and it's not that difficult to find people's real name, regardless of whether or not it's even there for you to look at. And then, of course, it goes on from there. You know, if people wanted to harass me, they could do so, and they have in the past. And you know what? You just deal with it, because that's part of doing things on the internet. If you don't want to be harassed, then don't ever talk to anybody in the world ever again. Welcome to real life. Sadly, that's the way that it has to go. You just got to harden the hell up. Myself, I supported it to some degree, Octel supported it to some degree, and the remix guy on YouTube that did the Mr. Voltron stuff and the Oldwar remix stuff, the XTW02, he supported it. And that's about it. Everyone else that I could find absolutely despised this whole idea. Now, a few days ago, Blizzard decided to say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. You want to know why? Well, because apparently they thought it was a bad idea. Did they honestly think that the community was going to react well to that? Really? Honestly? No. You can't be serious. The community wasn't going to react well to that. Not a chance. The community doesn't react well when you move a stone in Stormwind 3 feet to the left, and they really hate video makers that don't notice that. I tell you that for a fact. Oh dear. It's cardinal sin, ladies and gentlemen. How dare you? How dare you? Ugh. Dear Lord. Yes, indeed. I think, honestly, this was a test. The test was to see just how far they could go. They wanted to see whether or not there would be even the remotest possibility in the next 5+ years or whatever to have a system like this. Because they're big into the Real ID thing, they're big into the social interaction. They put it in the game, but it's optional, of course. Now, it's actually kind of handy, because I can check which game my wife's playing, what server she's on, because she's got multiple characters. It's all pretty handy overall. It's fairly useful. I use it for my Shoutcraft stuff. It's very easy to set up a Real ID Battle.net account and then have my guys who play on my show add me. You know, that's easy. I don't really care if people have my name. That doesn't make any difference to me, honestly. My name is on there. If people wanted to do, commit nonsense or whatever, then nothing's really stopping them, honestly. But I think you vastly overestimate your own sense of importance if you think that people are going to do that to you on a consistent basis. But yeah, that's where it went, and the reaction was fueled, of course, by a fairly foolish move by Bashiok to release his name and said, see, I put my name out, nothing could possibly go wrong. Now this is the thing, you're just asking for trouble. Right? You can find out the CM's names fairly easily. Anyway, you know, I've been able to access an elite form of hacks. Yeah? So I hacked the Gibson, and I was able to get the names of almost everyone that ever worked on the original World of Warcraft. It's unbelievable. My hacking skills are elite. They are beyond compare and peer. You have no idea. It's amazing. So what I did was, using my elite skills and my amazing knowledge of the hardware, I picked up this book that is on a time delay on the video feed. You will see it, no doubt, at some point. Maybe you've seen it already. This book is the World of Warcraft Game Manual. And you know what's in the World of Warcraft Game Manual, ladies and gentlemen? I can tell you. The credits. You know what the credits say? Oh yes, that's the real name of everybody that worked on World of Warcraft. Here we go. Would you like to know the name of one of the cinematic technical artists? Well, how about we start off? John Burnett, Joe Frayne, Stieg Haskell, Jared Keller, Hung Lee, that's nice, and Nelson Wang. Would you like to know the guy that supervised the render farm? Yes, indeed. Mike Kramer. There you go. Lead compatibility testers, QA testers, worldwide launch coordinators, Vogue utilization team, Blizzard Entertainment guys. Yes, indeed. What have we got? Global brand management. Packaging artwork was done by Brom, William Petras, and Justin Tharavet. Yes, indeed. And a very special thank you to friends, family, and kids. All named right here in the manual. I am such a elite hacksaw. It's unbelievable. How did I manage that? Skills, man. Pro freaking skills. Finding people's real names is easy. But with all the nonsense going on over it, I can understand why people didn't want it to happen. And honestly, while no doubt I think that a lot has to be done to stop trolling on the forums and to create a real environment that people can actually have a discussion in without people getting so upset and crying over nothing, then let's see a way of doing that. Something that makes sense. Real ID was never really going to work, was it? It would have helped. I don't think there's really any doubt about that. It would have helped. But would it have fixed anything? Let me tell you what I think would fix anything. If you want to stop trolling on the forums, then there are a few things you've got to do. And the first thing is something that should have been on since day frickin' one. And that is the ability to see all the characters on a posting account. Now, you're going to cry and scream, oh, the harassment possibilities, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Welcome to a video game on the internet. Some people may harass you. Some people may take exception to what you say. Let's see, what have I had? Yes, death threats. I've had calls of work. What else have I had? Oh yes, messages over YouTube, my email, Twitter, all manner of amazing, crazy things. Harassment happens on the internet. Suck it up or leave. If someone harasses you in-game, you do what you're supposed to do, which is report it to a GM who will then deal with it. It doesn't matter if people know the name of your other alts or whatever. If you say something dumb, you should be accountable for that. If you're not willing to put your real name, you're not willing to stamp your real name onto your opinion, then please explain to me why you would state it in the first place. Indeed. Fairly ridiculous, isn't it? It boggles the mind that people wouldn't feel the need to hide behind a persona that isn't even identifiable. Everyone has a persona on the internet, but that persona, especially in World of Warcraft, is often personified specifically by their main. Yeah, the character that they play an awful lot, because that character is a representation of who they are and their particular thought patterns, what they are trying to accomplish. That is their existence within the game. So that is the character and the persona that has things like respect, disrespect, opinions, reputation attached to it. So if some guy's a ninja looter, then that stays with him. If some guy is an unpleasant guy to group with, that stays with him. Some guy is a kind guy who likes to help people out, that stays with him as well. That's their persona. That is what they are known most for. And as far as I'm concerned, in the context of WoW, I don't really care if Peter Smith is espousing a particular opinion, but I might care if Orc Warrior 522 is espousing a real opinion. Because that's who they are within the game. And they're accountable for that. If I hate what somebody says, I can go in a game and I can tell them as such, because that's my right. They, of course, then have the right to completely ignore me if they so wish, but at the end of the day, if you're not willing to back up your opinion with a genuine identity of some description, then your opinion is worth nothing. People always used to whine about the phrase, post on your main. They're like, well, how is that even relevant? Well, it is relevant. You want to know why it's relevant? It's relevant because it shows how much you are willing to stand behind your opinion. If we know who it is that said something, then you become accountable for that. If you are just trolling Alt 577, then you're not really putting out an opinion at all. It's like knocking on somebody's door and then running away giggling and thinking you've just epically owned somebody. It's not the case. You're a coward. You're a spineless worm if you're not willing to put your persona and the full weight of the characters that you play behind something you say in a video game. It sounds a lot more serious than it is, because we're talking about video games here. This has always been the show where everything goes a little bit over the top, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. It's OTT. It's larger than life. It's in context. In the real world, none of this matters. Who cares what your opinion of Ulduar hard modes was? Nobody. It's absolutely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but we're talking about discussing something within the context of WoW, on the WoW forums, and that matters. It matters within World of Warcraft, it matters on the WoW forums. Honestly, your opinions about WoW are the most important thing on the WoW forums. I don't care if you make $50,000 a year, if you make $15,000, $5,000, $500,000, that doesn't matter. That doesn't affect your opinion of WoW. Who cares? I don't care if you've got 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, no kid. I don't give a damn. If you're a female, a male, if you're black, Hispanic, white, yellow, green, from outer space, none of that matters. What matters is what you are saying on the WoW forum about WoW, and whether or not you've got the balls to back that up with some real names. And by real names, I'm referring to your persona in-game. Because your real name, in the grand scheme of WoW, doesn't mean anything. And I think, really, that's the mistake that Blizzard made. That is the biggest error. Let's not claim otherwise. This was a huge faux pas. Blizzard either completely underestimated how annoyed people would be by this, and I don't think they're that dumb. Here's the thing. Do you really think Blizzard are that stupid? They've made mistakes in the past, but this is brain dead. And they read their own forums. They are aware of how upset people get. Did they honestly believe, and did they think this through, that anyone would really come out in major support of this? There are legitimate problems with it, like being a female, for instance. Welcome to Stalkersville, population U, because you have a name that sounds a little bit feminine. Welcome to racism. If you've got a name that sounds a bit foreign, welcome to being harassed. Welcome to homophobia, and indeed whatever the phobia of transsexual and transgender people are. But it's obvious, like, oh, well, this is a weird name, blah, blah, blah. You know, I've heard you on Vent, and you sound like this, but you're actually this, and this is your real name, and oh, God, blah, blah, blah. All this bad stuff. Xenophobia, whatever. All of this kind of thing. Those are obvious problems. Those are the kind of things which do not contribute to a good community. As much as I would like to say that Real ID would fix the trolling problem, the only real reason that I was in support of it is because at least it would do something about the trolling problem, because they haven't done anything about it for years. For God's sake, they've kicked most of the intelligent guys off the forums just because they express their opinion in a way that isn't really incredibly meek and mild. They don't provide automatic default respect, like handing out heroic badges to people that post on the internet. Oh, well, you didn't post anything good on the internet, but I suppose it's the thought that counts. So here, you get default respect. You can hand in your respect tokens for some tier 11. Bollocks to that. You earn your respect by posting stuff that isn't garbage. That's the kind of thing that should be encouraged. Post things that aren't garbage. Post good things. And when people post bad things, they should be open to all of the strong disagreement that comes with it. But don't think that they didn't realise what was going on here. You would have to be a moron to realise, well, to not realise what would have happened if they put this in. This was never going to get in. Ever. This was testing the water. Blizzard wants to expand the social aspect of WoW into stuff like Facebook integration. I imagine Twitter will get in there at some point. They've already got the in-game real ID system. They wanted to test the waters and feel out where the limits are, and then they can start building within that. I will bet a lot of money on real ID and the fact that it was never planned to be in the game. Certainly not in 2010. Maybe in 2020, when people are way, way happier about having their names and details on the internet. But not now. No way. Blizzard aren't that dumb. This was a test. What have we proved? Well, we can shout a lot, get very upset, and harass people in real life. Oh, how mature we are. My name is TotalBiscuit. You're listening to Blue Plz here on CynicalBrit.com. This is KMFDM with Stars and Stripes. I'll be right back after this to do a little bit of Cataclysm Q&A. Enjoy.
You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed to comply with copyright law. If you'd like to hear the music, tune into the live stream on Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT. That's 3 p.m. EST, only on CynicalBrit.com.
Yes, indeed, folks. Right, okay, so we'll do some Cataclysm Q&A. I'd like to log into the game, but the beta has been down for a little while. Yes, unfortunately. Oh well, we're just going to have to deal with that, and I will try and answer your questions as best I can. You can send them in via Twitter. That's twitter.com/TotalBiscuit. You can also send them in via email, and you can send them in all the way over to the chat room if you so wish. Send me a PM that way. Head into the chat room at the bottom of the screen on CynicalBrit.com. And we'll see what we can do. Yes, indeed. Okay, so let's go through the list of stuff. We've got quite a few emails already. Keep sending them in, and I'll do as much Q&A as humanly possible. Here's one. My question is this. You brought out 2 videos recently, one of Western Plaguelands and one of Stone Talon Mountains, and I just wanted to know, because you said in those videos that the level change of the area had been altered. Could you please tell us if there are any other zones that have had their level range changed, bar the obvious like the Barrens? Yes, I can. There is a list of these. So we can have a look at it together and we can try and figure things out, because a lot of this Alliance stuff, I never know what level range it actually is. I don't play Alliance, I don't care. So, I'll have a look at the list and see what it is there. Here we go. So, right. Arathi's about 25 to 30, which is about right. Ashenvale is 20 to 25, which again is about right. Ashara is 10 to 20, so that's a big change. Badlands, nothing yet. Here's the thing, Badlands is not completely done yet. The only thing that I noticed different in Badlands, my apologies, is the Tainted Scar. That's completely changed. Blasted Lands, don't know yet. Burning Steppes, don't know yet. Darkshore, 10 to 20. Deep Holm is a new area, that's 82 to 83. Nothing on Desolus yet. Nothing on Duratar yet either. Duratar's the same, and Don Morrow appears to be the same as well. Let's see what else we've got. Duskwallow Marsh is about 35 to 40, which is about right. Duskwood, 20 to 25. Eastern Plaguelands, 40 to 45. So that's significantly lower. Western Plaguelands, 35 to 40. Big changes there. Fellwood's about 45 to 50, as before. Fellowless, 35 to 40. I think that's a little bit lower. I also heard that they're going to be making Dire Maul. I don't know if this has changed yet, but they're going to be tuning Dire Maul down to be appropriate to the zone. So Dire Maul is going to be like a level 35 to 40 dungeon instead of 58 to 60. Bear in mind the scenario in which Dire Maul was brought in. It was brought in as the second additional dungeon into vanilla content. The first one was Moradin, which I believe was in by the time that the European side of WoW launched, and then they brought in Dire Maul, which was designed to pad out the content around level 58 to 60. So I imagine that's going to be changed to about 35 to 40 to be appropriate to Feralus and actually make sense, because otherwise you're going to have people wandering in there, hey, it's a dungeon, let's go, oh god, the pain. Not good. Hillsbrad, 20 to 25, so that's about the same. Hinterlands, 30 to 35, again, around the same. Lochmadan, 10 to 20. We've got Lost Isles, of course, is 1 to 12. Mulgor's 1 to 10. That's okay. Northern Barrens is 10 to 20, whereas Southern Barrens is 30 to 35, so a fairly significant change there. Silver Pine Forest, about 10 to 20. Silithis is around the same at 55 to 60. Let's see what else. There was a big change, obviously, in terms of the mountains. The Stone Talons, 25 to 30 now. Is there anything else? Thousand Needles is about the same. Tanaris is a bit high, a little higher level, 45 to 50. Not huge changes there, but some nonetheless. Angora 50 to 55, so that's the same. That about covers it. Honestly, I think the wetlands might be a little bit different, but I don't know. And Winter Spring's a little lower than it was. It's 50 to 55 now, and I'm fairly sure that was closer to 55 to 60 before. Okay. Question, how imbalanced is the new improved polymorph? I haven't tried it in PvP yet, but I imagine it's a little bit imbalanced. I don't have it spec'd, because I would expect my dungeon guys to be a little bit better. But hey, considering the videos and how badly I performed, maybe that's unreasonable. Question in via Twitter. From what you've seen, are there any changes to existing racials? There are not right now. There are going to be, but they are not in the game yet. Nothing has changed in that regard. Also, you said that warriors learn Victory Rush at level 5, so that means they no longer learn new moves every 2 levels until 60. That's all changing, but they are looking to do that anyway. The way that the talents are going to be set up, it's supposed to be alternating between talent point, new ability, talent point, new ability, or at least upgrade of ability. It'll be interesting to see how they pull that one off. What else have we got here? With the new system, which idiot would level as a healer when every healer has an amazing DPS spec? That will make low-level dungeons fun until level 40. Do you think that Blizzard haven't thought of that? Honestly. No, they will build healers in such a way that they are desirable to level. Otherwise, yeah, you're absolutely correct. People will get boned. Of course they've seen that coming. There will be plenty of things that work. They will make those specs work in a leveling environment. Hey TB, has anything been done with Silithis in Cataclysm? Probably, but it hasn't been done yet. Silithis is showing up as unfinished right now, I believe. Let me just double check the list. Blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Where'd it go? Silithis is not ready for testing, so the changes have not been made, but bearing in mind the amount of Twilight stuff that was going on down there, I would think there's going to be some fairly major story points going down. Bring Cthulhu back. You know you want to. Okay, what else have we got? I heard the Wailing Caverns has been cleansed now. Could you record any change? If it has, I will do that, but right now it is on the list, let me put it that way. I'll go and have a look in it later, see what's going on. Are the stats going to be crazy, runaway, huge? Yes. So far, yes. They are going to be pretty runaway ridiculous, which I don't really approve of, honestly. There's also going to be a lot of normalization. Like, HP is going to be fairly similar across the board for most classes in a PvE environment, and apparently that's going to help with the balance or whatever, but hey. Have they done anything with any of the old instances, such as Dead Mines, yet? Not really. There's been a couple of changes, like, they've moved the quests from outside and all over the place to inside of the... what the hell do they call it? That thing. Ragefire Chasm, yes. They're now at the start of the zone. There's a little mini quest hub. So, yeah. Absolutely. Now, people are saying the beta is up. Well, that doesn't matter, because I can't get into it. It's not up for everybody. I had a bunch of people saying it's not, so hey. Can't get in, and I can't simply magic it away as much as I would like. Okay, what else have we got? Are there going to be any new neutral cities? I've heard there's going to be something maybe near the Maelstrom, but I can't confirm that right now. Haven't been there, haven't seen it. I will investigate. Have you tried Holy Cow yet? I don't know how it's going to work. It's going to work the same way as anything else. It's just the skin, people! Really? Can you show me the new Tauren Paladins? Here's a clue. It looks the same as the other Paladins, but it's a cow. What's been changed? What in Ironfall has just been changed? Haven't been there yet. Can't tell you. Have the minor cities in the game had any changes? Well, as a few. Like, for instance, the way that the Undercity looks has changed a little bit, but not by much. Thunderbluff is effectively unchanged at the moment, but it might not be finished. Ugh, God. Okay. It's gonna be harder to get into Outland. Has there been any word on that? There are now portals to the big dark portal thing. So you don't have to worry about getting to the Outlands. It's very easy. There'll be a portal in the capital city, so you're not going to have to worry too much about that. Anyone on Goblin Capital City? There isn't one. There's a slum in Ogrimmar that you can live in. But otherwise, no Goblin Capital City yet. Okay, what else have we got? What happened to the Defias? Well, they've been driven out of Northshire, I can tell you that for a fact. They are not there anymore. They've been replaced by an invasion of Blackrock Orcs, who have torched the grape farm. Yes, indeed. The vineyard has been burnt to the ground, and they ate all the grapes. Seriously, they actually say the grapes were delicious. Oh, the grapes of wrath. What else have we got? Okay. Yeah, what else have we got? I'm getting spammed. Yeah, okay, that's good. You can't keep spamming because I can't read it. What videos can we expect? Stuff. Simple as that. I like your hat. Where do you get it from? A store. Look for top hat on the internet. It's not that hard. Will there be any new major city in Cataclysm? Again, not that I've seen. What else? They seem to be more interested in getting people back into the old cities. You expressed that when you select a talent tree, you're locked into it. What does this mean for dual specking? Well, when was dual specking available? When can you do that now? Bear in mind, I only ever have a max level character. So, hang on, let me look up dual spec for a second. Dual talent specialization. When was that available? That's available at level 40, so it's not going to make a blind bit of difference, I would think. It's either that, or you're simply going to be able to spec... Okay, dual spec into fire and frost. Done. I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. Shouldn't have any problems with that. What else do we have? Have the professions actually changed to level up multiple times from harder to craft items? Yes. Simple answer, yes they have. If you craft blues and stuff like that, you get multiple skill ups as opposed to just making crap. So that's a good thing. Do you think the Horde should get a similar CSI Miami questline like the Alliance gets? No, because it's a dumb gimmick. I think we've got enough dumb gimmicks. There's some really good quest lines in Stone Town that actually have a good story, as opposed to the whole CSI thing. Oh yay, it's more pop culture references. Gee, that's not overwrought or anything. What else have we got? Any sightings of Ragnaros yet in the beta? Yes, Ragnaros is part of the final phase of Mount Hyjal. You will see him. Anything going on with the Bloodsail Buccaneers? Well, I got shot at by a few of them. We've got a few pirate ships around. There's some in, say... Oh, what's it called? Oh, 1,000 Needles. They were actually shelling the big barge there. So, the Bloodsail Buccaneers do seem to be a little bit naughty at the moment. What else have we got? Do a couple more and then I shall end, because you can tell I'm getting a little bit bunged up. The sooner I get this surgery, the better. What have we got from Q&A? Let's check the channel. There we go. Anything on reforging yet? Not that I've seen. It may not be in the game yet. I haven't had a look at it. Are you going to release more Worgen Zone videos? Yes, at some point. Was the crafted armor changed to be more useful during leveling? Most things are getting re-itemized, so yes, you can assume that that stuff is going to not suck. Do you feel that with such a shift to world PvP, do you think that non-PvP realms are missing out? Non-PvP realms were always missing out, ladies and gentlemen. And that's their fault. Roll PvP if you have a backbone. And if you want to be a Care Bear, then go play something else. Lotro. Yes, go do that. It's better anyway. Any information about guild leveling system? Not fully implemented as of yet, so not really. Most of that stuff is missing. Is mana conservation in Cataclysm something you're going to need to watch as much as it is now? I have not seen that as of yet, but it's impossible to tell. Bear in mind that the new talents aren't in yet by any stretch of the imagination, so it's very difficult to tell whether or not that's going to matter too much. It didn't matter when I was in the Throne of Tides, but that might just be because of gear, the new mana conversions, the new changes to stats, and all of the stuff there. So don't judge it yet, because it's nowhere near, absolutely nowhere near where it's going to be. Into spell power conversion, I answered that previous show, so I don't need to answer that right here. Did they ever free the piggy? The piggy is maybe dead, actually. The piggy was in Camp Tarajo, as I recall. Camp Tarajo has been burnt to the ground. There is no sign of the piggy. The piggy may be at large, armed and dangerous at this very moment. Dear God. Did the Argent, Squire and the Mammoth vendors get new reagents or food? No idea. Last one. Have you seen the new engineering sockets in any gear yet? No. With Appetite World PvP, yeah, we don't care, blah, blah, blah. What else have we got? I think that's probably about all I've got time for. I'll quickly check email, see if I can get one last one here. Since he's being so damn persistent, Pit Rat, any new old gods hanging around? Probably, because there's some major shiz going down in Stone Talon. There is a Harbinger of Doom! There are also tentacles, which means old gods, I think. I'm hoping there'll be some nice Cthulhu stuff going on, but I think I am having a little bit of wishful thinking there. Some wonderful nostalgia back to the old days when raiding was awesome and scrubs died. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been TotalBiscuit, and this has been Blue Plz here on CynicalBit.com. Go check out the rest of the stuff over on the website. Lots of stuff for you to have a look at. Cataclysm videos will continue to go out. I'll be back on Friday with an update news and with the continuation of the Legend of the Murloc radio... I suppose it's a radio novelette, really, isn't it? On this shout-outs for the next few minutes, I'd like to remind you that this show is sponsored by UGTservers.com, premium quality gaming ventrilo servers. They are awesome. Go check them out if you need a vent server for your guild. And, of course, this website is supported by advertising on the site, so if you do see anything cool, then by all means click on it. If you see a gold ad, report it on the forums. There's a thread for it. We don't like gold ads here on CynicalBit.com. They keep slipping through on AdSense. We want to block them, so please, by all means, report the URLs so that we can get rid of them. Thank you very much, and we're going to be doing some shout-outs for the next few minutes of the show. Send them over, the murloc@gmail.com or murloc@cynicalbrit.com. Send them over Twitter, IRC, chat, whatever the hell you please. That is absolutely fine by me. Shout-out goes to Noxie over at Wowhead for being awesome. Congratulations to you for winning the award of awesome. That has been just given out to you right now. There is no trophy because I'm a cheap bastard. What else have we got? They are just coming in thick and fast at this point in time. Give a shout out to watching the good old anime like Kenshin. Actually Kenshin's okay, but you're mostly weeaboo. That's from Niv. I was hoping for you to give a shout out to B-Drone. Yes, indeed. You can get a shout out to B-Drone. Oh god, the spam. I can't even keep up with this. Shout out to Cizura on Hydraxis US. Oh god. I tell you, Tiny Chat is terrible for this, because it actually changes the PM you're looking at when you get a new one sent. That's terrible. Shout out to Tyrick, who has fallen ill and needs to get stuff together to get Tarim a job. A shout out to the Warden for her birthday. Happy birthday! Something, because I don't know your real name, because they banned Real ID. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Right, what else have we got? Under his wing is... What the hell is this? Shout out to B-Drone for taking him under his wing as a dancing Padawan. That's from Valdro, yes. Your powers are weak, old man. I have been told. A shout out to Togana, the Kingslayer on Executus EU. Woo, God, I hate ICC. What else have we got right here? Is there any news on Gnomrigan? It's dead, and everyone in it died a horrible death. Ha ha ha! Gnome extermination! It's perfect. What else have we got? A shout out to Togana, the Kingslayer on Executus EU, come to ICC. A shout out to Tanks on EU Emerald. The spam! A shout out to my fail guild aggression on Ravencrest EU for failing 34 times on something. I have no idea what. That's from Talia. Yes, indeed. Very much running out of time here, and the spam is everywhere! A shout out to Angelo, the Ninja Pirate. That's from Onin. And Onin just recently figured out that Angelo is in fact male, so congratulations! Well done! Yes, indeed, after 3 years of assuming this person was female, and perhaps fapping, you've worked it out, so well done to you. It's great to see you break through that particular delusion. Yes, apparently they failed 34 times on Hallian, by the way. A shout out to me from Asna. Okay, fair enough. There you go. A little bit of ego there, no problem with that. Nom nom nom, I as the Magnum, nom nom nom, that's from John Q, yes indeed. Shout out to all of those who are going to be going to Bloodstock in a month's time. I will be there, John Q will be there, a bunch of our listeners will be there. Yes indeed. It's going to be good. The Cynical Camp and the Cynical Flag will be flying high. 4 days of glorious metal mead and music and moshing and meat. Yes indeed, there will be much meat. It's going to be good stuff. You come down to that right here. And I'll be putting a post up on that over the course of the week so that you can register your interest, and I will give you a little bit of a guide to how best to survive the 4 days of glory and power. I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, and of course thank you to everyone on the chat wall today. The various hats have been displayed. I think we need more hats for next show. I'll be back on Friday, and I am done. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, WoW's #1 shock jock show, only on cynicalbrit.com. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment on the Cynical Brit website or write a review of the show on iTunes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.